We are about to embark, therefore may God be with us. Guys, I think it's really just started. Why? On the Bitcoin chart, the 2-week candle just ended, and there's a concerning development. It's indicating that although things are really frightening here, there might be some light or hope at the end of the tunnel. Guys, let's discuss what just transpired. To top it off, the monthly did close. There are a lot of signals occurring here. For Bitcoin enthusiasts, the 2-week candle just closed. We were alerted to this candle because, well, Bitcoin just confirmed a triple bearish divergence on the 2 weekly charts, which indicates that it is about to crash. You know what would happen if this happened? By the way, the weekly charts showed a head and shoulder pattern with the divergence, which is why we are and have been dumping at the moment, which we discussed over the phone, but I'm not sure whether anyone paid attention. However, since this trend is currently occurring on a 2-weekly basis, that is the reason we are dumping. Guys, we have a more bizarre pattern, don't we? We have a more bizarre pattern that is most likely to materialize. I sincerely hope it continues at this level. Guys, let's just say you come down. Alright, let's assume that this eventually drops to about $80,000 for Bitcoin. If the R side goes below, that is, the price is above this pivot, but it falls below it. On the 2 weekly charts, that represents a covert bullish divergence. Do you guys notice that? Which will cause prices to rise once more. Alright, light therefore has a role in the weekly as well. Why is it on the weekly? This is actually already the case, and this is where things start to seem quite promising. Actually, a concealed bullish divergence is already present and attempting to create the pivot. Here we are at this moment. Below this pivot lies the R side. Prices will rise if they can maintain above 104k, 103k around this price, people. Indeed, the 2 weekly charts that are about to enter will most likely be eliminated. Alright, so keep an eye on this every week. As I mentioned, we simply need to see above 103k around this pivot, and I believe it will drop there, but we must maintain those levels and it will rise again. The monthly candle also just closed, indicating a head and shoulders momentum pattern. Alright, that's horrible news. Bears, although it hasn't been confirmed, it will be by the end of September, which is a long time away, and we can't predict what will happen by then, so let's take things day by day. Alright, bearish. Bearishness is screaming from the charts. The bears are coming out to play, as you can see from Matthew's analysis of Bitcoin structure. I take it that the bullish structure fell down. Guys, it was meant to serve as support here, but we closed below this earlier resistance area. Alright, well, I'm not sure. Do you guys have a bull or bearish outlook? I'm leaning more bearish myself. However, Credible Crypto claims that he responded to Ace's tweet, so do you believe that top is in everywhere? Cred's response was probably note bottom close to in across the board. Whoa, he's saying that sooner rather than later, gentlemen, the bottom might be in here. Indeed, the bottom might be in, as we discussed just now, isn't it? Bitcoin will likely drop to this level, but I believe it will stay there since supports will likely rise. We then need to overcome the retracement levels. If we hold this region as resistance, keep moving higher, it will press downward, therefore this will rise again in that manner. Alright, then we'll know what truly occurs, but at the moment, a hidden bullish divergence is emerging. Since there is still time that needs to pass, it hasn't been confirmed immediately. However, we'll see what the bottom might be. It may be on the verge of being in, but I don't think it is. Mr. Zoom currently states that since December 24th, there are xrp monthly shuts in December, with nary a single monthly candle closing over $3.03. XRP has been fluctuating laterally. That's crazy. Guys, have a look at this. Hold on, this viewpoint is stunning. The XRP monthly chart shows that the monthly candle has just closed. Should we look at XRP? Thus, the weekly divergence for XRP is bearish, with 2 weekly. Although it hasn't been verified, there is a bearish divergence on XRP. Right, it appears to be lagging behind Bitcoin, which was just confirmed. In roughly 14 days, or 2 weeks, XRP's bearish divergence on the 2 weekly will be Alright, so XRP has 2 weeks to pump in order to eliminate the 2 weekly bearish divergence. Alright, XRP has been merely ranging, but there is a triple bearish divergence on 2 weekly that will be verified in roughly 14 days. Hold on a second. Hold on, what? On a daily basis, XRP appears to be exploding and then dying. Actually though, it's just moving sideways. Since late last year, it has been many months. What? This is referred to as bullish consolidation. Breakout occurs when XRP eventually rises above. It won't break below, in my opinion. I believe it will increase. What does that signify? one consolidation pump followed by another pump. Alright, and because of this obvious structure, you look at the longer time frames rather than the minute-by-minute ones. Additionally, it is a bullish continuation. However, I believe there will be some volatility in the near future. Additionally, we're anticipating the ATF's launch in the near future. Correct. Nate claims that you heard it here first. Similar to what happened with spot Bitcoin and Ethereum ETFs, many are seriously underestimating investor demand for spot, XRP, and Solana ETFs. Hold on, Larry Fink, BlackRock C. By the way, who is the man behind Aladdin, unable to discuss an XRP ETF? I take it that this was last year. I'm just not able to. He is essentially a puppet to whoever ordered him to refrain from discussing XRP, regardless of the circumstances. Isn't that right? Yes, even if he's a captive or whatever, he can't discuss XRP with anyone, can he? Unless authorized. He is undoubtedly a puppet, as their ETFs are about to launch. However, XRP must hold $2.80 for the time being. According to AHH charts, XRP needs to stay above 277 in order to prevent a decline to 240. Depending on what Bitcoin does, it could be either bearish or bullish. I believe that Bitcoin will drop to $130,000. I mean 103K. And while it's possible that XRP will drop, I believe it will find support sooner rather than later. Correct. Simply put, the longer periods, by the way, it takes a long time to unfold. If these two weekly events transpire, and it falls below these pivots, which I hope it doesn't, it's not today, tomorrow. You guys see how our size is below this pivot? It's gonna get insane, okay? It will take a while. If we could hold above 1, that would be your 3,000. Bitcoin will reach a new all-time high if there is more than a weekly or 2-week concealed positive divergence. Here, that is our only chance. Is Bitcoin capable of doing it? Can Bitcoin stay above this support level, which is 103K, at which point it will bottom out, as I called it? XRP is simply waiting for Bitcoin to do something, and it will follow. XRP has simply been ranging here because of this. We do have important support too. Therefore, XRP will be quite strong if it manages to hold up here, as Bitcoin isn't. The price of Bitcoin is dropping. This is a great indication that XRP is remaining steady. XRP's global is on its way. That ought to push us into the top 20 agents and perhaps even further roll in. He shows two distinct situations on his chart, one of which is bullish, but the second is actually very bullish. Alright, and a pretty bullish one at that. This is a bullish count that requires additional P to reach about $15, $20, but it is so bullish that it need additional P to reach $30 for short-term pain, because he may be implying that we may return to $1.50. All okay, but this graphic indicates no. We will maintain existing levels and continue to raise them. In this chart, the second scenario compensates for short-term suffering, whereas the first scenario is less positive. What shall we do? Get that way for pullback, and before we truly conclude the cycle, we need get that last fifth way. My cycle targets are still in the cautious $10, $20 range, and if there is even a retreat, I might even go higher. The intriguing thing is that, in the viewpoint of a savvy trader, this will be a chance if the instant gratification scenario doesn't materialize and we actually see a real pullback, descend and retest these levels, when everyone else will scream it's the end of the world. And in my view, this will be substantially more robust and technically even more positive, if that is the case. Therefore, it should place us in the upper 20s, lower 30s, and possibly even the $40 ease before this. Whoa. According to him, if we follow this course, the extra P will equal $50 or more. First of all, it becomes considerably more explosive. Thus, I hope we follow this course. Yes, there will be